Let's talk about her love. Or rather, let's talk about the dangerous, intoxicating illusion you've been conditioned your entire life to call love. You've been told, by movies, by society, by the very expectations in the air you breathe, that being chosen by a woman, being seen and desired by the feminine, is the ultimate prize. It's the validation that finally makes you a man. But Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds to ever dissect the human psyche, discovered something terrifying, a truth so stark it has been deliberately ignored for decades. He learned that for most men, being chosen in this way is not the beginning of a life, but the beginning of the end of one. It's the first willing step into a psychological prison so perfectly constructed, so lined with the velvet of comfort and approval that you will never even see the bars. And the scariest part? Most of the women who build this prison don't even know they're doing it. They are just as unconscious of the script as you are, driven by forces they refuse to confront. You think she sees you? Let me be absolutely brutally clear. She doesn't. She can't. What she sees is a role she desperately needs to fill, a character in a movie that has been playing in her head since she was a little girl. And you, my friend, are just the latest actor to walk into the audition. You are not a person to her. You are a placeholder, a blank canvas. You are measured, assessed, scanned for your potential to fit the part she has written. Are you successful enough? Are you stable enough? Or maybe, are you damaged enough? Are you just enough of a project for her to fix? Your own thoughts, your own desires, your own soul? They are irrelevant. Worse than irrelevant, they are an inconvenience to the story she is trying to tell, a story where she is the hero and you are just a supporting character. A masterpiece of her own creation that has nothing to do with who you really are. And men, you fall for it every single time. You fall for it because the attention is a drug. You mistake the intensity of her focus for genuine connection. You mistake her need for your love. Nobody in your life, not your father, not your friends, ever taught you how to spot the trap. And so you become a psychological puppet, dancing on the strings of her needs, her expectations, her fantasies. You perform the role perfectly, and for a while, you are rewarded with affection, with approval, with the intoxicating feeling of being wanted. But it's all conditional. The moment you deviate from the script, the moment your authentic self tries to break through with a thought she hasn't pre-approved, the strings are cut. You're left confused, betrayed, and humiliated, wondering what you did wrong. The answer is nothing. You simply stopped being the character she needed. The play was over for you, and she will mourn the character you played for a moment before she begins casting for your replacement. The show, after all, must go on. What is this invisible force you're really dealing with? What is the hand that pulls the strings? This isn't just a quirk of her personality. Jung had a name for this inner tyrant that drives the fantasy, the Animus. He didn't sugarcoat it with polite academic language. He described it as a spiritual possession. The Animus is an unconscious, idealized image of the masculine that every woman carries inside her. It's a psychic entity, built from the ghost of her father, from the heroes of movies, from the disappointments of past lovers, and from the collective archetypes of culture. When it's undeveloped and unconscious, it is a monster of opinion and absolute certainty. It's this possessive animus that makes her chase dangerous, emotionally unavailable men. They fit the dramatic, chaotic role her inner tyrant has written. It's what makes her reject good, stable men, dismissing them as boring because a stable man offers no drama for her inner theater. You've experienced this, haven't you? The argument that comes out of nowhere, where she speaks with a kind of rigid, unshakable conviction that defies all logic. The circular reasoning that leaves you exhausted and confused, where your own words are twisted and used against you. The way she can hold two completely contradictory beliefs at the same time and feel morally superior in both. You think you're having a conversation with the woman you love, but you're not. You are negotiating with the ghost of every man who has ever defined her. You're fighting a shadow, and it's a fight you can never ever win. Her animus has an opinion on everything: your job, your friends, your ambition, and its voice sounds just like hers, filled with a certainty that feels like wisdom but is, in fact, pure, unadulterated prejudice. It whispers to her that you're not enough, that you need to be fixed, that you could be so much more if you just listened. You are not her partner, you are her project, a piece of clay to be molded. And you let it happen. You willingly put on the mask because the alternative, being rejected, being utterly alone, feels 1,000 times worse than the slow death of your own soul. You consciously mold yourself into whatever shape you believe will be accepted. You sand down your rough edges. You hide your true thoughts. You suppress your authentic instincts for a crumb of her approval. You learn her triggers, her moods, her unspoken rules, and you walk on eggshells to avoid them. You become the nice guy, the agreeable, predictable man who never causes trouble, the man who thinks his compliance is a virtue. Jung had a word for this: self-betrayal. It is the greatest, most widespread tragedy of modern men. In the desperate chase to be loved, you abandon the only person you can never escape: yourself. This self-betrayal isn't a single dramatic decision made in a moment of weakness. It's a death by 1,000 small surrenders, a slow poisoning of the soul that you barely notice until it's almost too late. It's the moment you swallow a truth because you fear it will cause a fight. It's the hobby you abandon because you think it's childish or she doesn't approve. It's the friends you stop seeing because she finds them coarse or a bad influence. It's the ambition you scale back because your success makes her feel insecure. It's the constant, subtle monitoring of her mood to determine how you are allowed to feel today. It's the hollow sickness in your gut when she praises you for being someone you're not, and the quiet terror that one day she'll see the real, imperfect you hiding behind the performance. You become your own jailer, trading your vitality for the illusion of safety. You have turned yourself into a ghost in your own life, haunting the rooms where a real man used to live. But here's the brutal cosmic joke. Here is the paradox that will tear you apart if you don't understand it. The very things you do to keep her your agreeableness, your predictability, your desperate need to please are the very things that cause her to feel contempt for you. The feminine instinct, on a deep, primal level, is not drawn to a servant. It is drawn to a sovereign. It is attracted to the untamed, to the man who has a center of gravity within himself, a man who knows his own path. It is drawn to mystery, to a man she cannot fully define, cannot fully control. When you surrender your backbone, when you hand her the keys to your soul, she may feel safe for a moment, but that safety quickly curdles into boredom, and that boredom curdles into contempt. You become a known quantity, a solved puzzle, and an instinct deep within her, an instinct she doesn't even consciously understand, recoils from the man who has no self. She will leave you for a man who is still a mystery, leaving you wondering how your perfect performance could have possibly failed. So, what's the way out of this psychological prison? How do you break this insane cycle? Jung's answer isn't a simple list of tips. It's not about learning new dating tactics. It's a brutal, terrifyingly lonely path called individuation. Most men never even start this journey. You've been trained your whole life to do the opposite, to look outside yourself for validation, to let women define your worth. Individuation is the act of conscious, painful rebellion against this entire social conditioning. It means choosing yourself, first and always. It means taking full and terrifying responsibility for your own soul, your own happiness, and your own meaning. It means you must, finally, confront your own shadow. The shadow is everything you have repressed and disowned about yourself because you were taught it was bad. It is your anger, your selfishness, your aggression, your sexuality, your irrationality. You have hidden it away in the dungeon of your psyche, pretending it doesn't exist because you are afraid it was unlovable. The journey of individuation demands you turn around, walk down into that dungeon, and face that monster. You must have a conversation with it. You must understand its needs. You must integrate it. Because true strength is not the absence of darkness, it is the mastery of it. A man who is not in touch with his own capacity for aggression and destruction cannot be a truly good man. He is merely a harmless one. And here is the secret that most men never learn. The reason you are so susceptible to the woman's projected fantasy, the reason you are so desperate for her validation, is because you have abandoned your own inner feminine, what Jung called the anima. The anima is the soul image, the source of your creativity, your intuition, your connection to life itself. Because you have been taught that these feminine qualities are weak, you have let your anima wither in the dungeon right next to your shadow. You are so starved for a connection to the feminine that you will accept any counterfeit version that a woman on the outside offers you. The journey of individuation for a man is the process of reconnecting with his own anima. It is a slow, difficult courtship of his own soul. When you learn to listen to your own intuition, to value your own feelings, to nurture your own creative spark, you are no longer a beggar for feminine energy. You become a source of it. You are no longer searching for a muse. You become your own. You are not a victim here. Let's be absolutely clear about that. You are a volunteer. You chose to play the fool. You chose to be the actor in her private myth because you were terrified of being alone. The path of individuation demands you face that fear head-on, without distraction or excuse. You must earn your own worth in solitude, where no one is watching and no one is clapping. It is the brutal, necessary alchemy of turning a boy who needs approval into a man who is the source of his own power. It is the journey of ceasing to be a character in her story and becoming the author of your own. This is not a metaphor. It is the only real work a man can ever do. The man who walks this path, the man who has faced his shadow and courted his anima, is a different kind of animal. He is untouchable, unbuyable, unmanipulable. The games of projection and validation no longer work on him because he sees the machinery behind the curtain. He doesn't need her validation, so he cannot be controlled by it. He can love, but he loves from a place of wholeness, not from a place of need. He can give, but his giving isn't a desperate bargain for affection. It is the free offering of a king. He can state his boundaries without anger or apology. He can walk away from a situation that insults his soul without a moment's hesitation, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. To a woman still living in the fantasy, this man is terrifying. He is a walking, breathing, existential crisis for her. She will resent him, even hate him, because her usual tools of control, guilt, praise, disappointment, seduction are utterly useless. He cannot be manipulated. He will not play the game. But the woman who has done her own inner work, the one who has faced her own demons, will recognize him instantly. She will see him as the only man with whom a real connection, a true meeting of souls, is even possible. Because in the end, true love isn't a fantasy. It isn't a cure for your loneliness. It's not a game of needs and approval. It is a connection born of freedom between two whole people who need nothing from each other and can therefore give everything. The journey isn't to find the perfect woman. It's to become the man who no longer needs one. That is the ultimate freedom. That is the only real power you will ever have. That is not the end of a fairy tale. It is the beginning of a real life.